Good evening, everyone, once again, and welcome to your WWE Monday Night Raw review for July 27th, 2020. And once again, WWE does what they have been guilty of doing a lot lately, especially in the last year or so, and that is making a bad show out of a lot of good wrestling. If there's one thing I'm not going to complain about tonight about Monday Night Raw, it's the work in the ring. All the matches, or at least a lot of the matches, were pretty good and pretty solid, and I really had no issue with that, and I rarely do. But lately, WWE seems to be making chicken shit out of chicken salad, and only WWE can accomplish that. And tonight was kind of no different. We had some big shit go down. We got our main event penciled in for SummerSlam. We have a brand new Raw Women's Champion. And like I said, the in-ring stuff was good, and somehow all of that somehow encompasses a bad show. I don't know how WWE manages to pull that off. I mean, I was hanging around Twitter and social media tonight. Not too many people, even the more level-headed people, weren't too kind to the show tonight and some of the decisions and shit. So sometimes I just don't know if WWE can ever get it together or not. But I think that maybe I'll be kinder to this show than most because, like I said, we did get some groundwork laid for SummerSlam, and we had a lot of good wrestling, so we're going to do our best to focus on that. I'm sure we'll touch on some of the more questionable things that they did tonight, but, you know, all in all, let's try not to make this totally negative tonight. And we'll see how the audience is. I think WWE's Raw ratings have been bad. I don't see, based on this show tonight, them really turning around when we get the ratings in tomorrow. If they're higher, it won't be by much. I think they're going to continue to be kind of in that downward swing. But we'll see. We'll get into all of it here. I want to thank everybody that's been hanging out, waiting for me to come up live. I can be heard, right?
Focus on.
Yep, there I am. All right, we're cool. Good to see everybody in here. What's up, Dre and Big J and Stone Cold and Tim and Maka, David, Naveed, Midwest, Jacob, JL, Chris, Ronnie. I got you already. Michael, Barry MK400 with the $2 super chat. You are hurricane free. That is good to hear. I was also talking to Devlin earlier, and he sent me a message saying it kind of brushed by the island. So it was kind of just a pass by and missed, a direct hit, which is real good because that would be real scary. So I'm glad that everybody in Hawaii, for the most part, has dodged a pretty major bullet there. I don't even know the hurricane's name. I forgot. But glad to hear that, Barry. I saw your picture, too, of the sky yesterday. It was blue skies and sun, so that's awesome to see. What's up, Ronnie Matthews? Good to see you as well. And Adam, yes, Uncle Greg is here. So we won't waste too much time getting into Raw tonight. We'll dive right into it. I don't have any house cleaning shit to do at the beginning of the show here. The only thing I want to remind you of is this coming Thursday, I got a brand new retro review dropping, courtesy of Scott Moss from Patreon, and that's going to be a full review, like an old school review, like I used to do all the time. I'm not even going to be on camera. It's going to be full podcast style. It drops on YouTube on Thursday, and it's going to be on WCW Wrestle War 1992, which had one of the best War Games matches of all time on that show. So stay tuned for that on Thursday if you want to take a trip down memory lane with me and relive some memories from 28 years ago. Jesus, man. But it was a good pay-per-view. It was fun to review it and catch that on Thursday. And I'm happy to report that the Winged Eagle podcast this coming Saturday will be back up at its regular time of Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Very happy to report that because the Winged Eagle has been a little bit inconsistent lately with Saturdays and Sundays in different times. Back to the normal time this Saturday. So that's the only thing I really have to inform you guys about. And we'll jump into the Raw results here. Let me knock out the super chat coming in from Chris. Appreciate it, man, and good to see you. Thanks for the $5. Which tag team had more star power? The Mega Powers or the two-man Power Trip? I'm going Mega Powers. To me, like, nobody's ever been more over than Austin, but I probably would say that Macho Man was more over than Trip. Or at least for me, and this is my brain judging that. So maybe somebody of a different age or a different era than me wouldn't judge it the same, but it's hard to top Mega Powers. It's even hard to top Hogan on his own. The only one that ever rivaled Hogan was Austin, in terms of just sheer crowd pops and shit like that. So I'm going to sell on the Power Trip and buy the Mega Powers. Antoine, good to see you, man. I thought I saw you on Twitter tonight, say you didn't even watch the show, but I'm glad you're here, and thanks for the $5. I barely watched my Mets were playing. Yeah, I saw you say that. That's what I saw on your tweet. But Raw ended exactly how I wanted it to. Yeah, I knew that Randy Orton, I was like, he's going to get involved at first I thought that maybe he would come in and cost McIntyre the victory and give Dolph some sort of a shitty victory so he can be an obnoxious prick and brag about it for weeks. But I like what they did, keeping Drew strong. That's what you need to do. I was kind of hoping Drew would even make the stipulation just a straight up match, which he kind of did. He made it an Extreme Rules match. But, Dolph's all nervous. Oh my God, big man, what kind of disadvantage are you going to put me on? And Drew would be like, I don't need a disadvantage. I'll whip your ass. I'll kick your ass one-on-one, fair and square, whatever. And that's pretty much what he did. Claymored his ass right through the table and pinned him and then got RKO'd at the end. So I think I'm happy with the post-match RKO than, during the match and costing Drew the win. I don't think he should be pinned at all until he loses that title. So our match for SummerSlam is set. We'll talk about near the end of the show. But I'm excited for Orton and Drew because, honestly, number one, it's going to be a really good and I think fun program. But number two, was there any other options? There's none. There's no other legitimate options, at least for SummerSlam. If it's another pay-per-view, you can throw anybody in front of McIntyre. But for SummerSlam, you need somebody, and nobody's doing better work right now, not only on the Raw brand, but in the whole company, than Randy Orton. So you kind of got to do it. And I'm curious, what do you guys think about SummerSlam? And we'll talk about this later, but will Drew continue to roll? I mean, is he going to have a great year of a Rumble victory, a Brock victory, an Orton victory, and maybe close out Survivor Series with an Undertaker victory or something, even though I think Taker's done? Do they continue him on this crazy path of just beating these legends, beating these megastars, and looking untouchable? Or do you give the belt to Orton and have the two trade the belt a couple of times? What do you think would be the most fun? And what do you think would be the most beneficial to both pieces of talent there? I'd kind of like to know. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be a fun summer, and we'll do our best to deal with the COVID shit. A lot of talk about SummerSlam. Are they going to go outdoors? Are they going to go outside of the PC? Word on the street is that's what Vince wants, but we've heard nothing yet, so they better figure it out. I think SummerSlam is on the 23rd, so that's soon. Get your shit together, WWE. Anyway, so what happened to the Mets? They lost? Yeah, the Mets suck, man, but that's okay. I can say that because I'm a Tigers fan and a Padres fan, and they both suck. So if your team sucks and I say they suck, it's not an insult. My team sucked too, so it's all good. We're in this together. All right, let's move on to Monday Night Raw. Show opens up with Randy Orton. Just mentioned him a minute ago. He touts his legacy, his consistency, his title reigns, and how much of a boss he is, and says that he wants to be champion again. So you knew that was coming because they were advertising that all week, that he was going to come out and basically challenge his next target or his next opponent or whatever, and we knew it had to be Drew. So he says he wants to be champion, calls out McIntyre, says he respects him, kind of insults him a little bit from his previous run 10 years ago, how he got fired and everything, but, then kind of pivots a little bit and starts commending him for beating Brock Lesnar in short order. That's something Randy Orton couldn't do. It was 2016, right? 2016 SummerSlam, when he was left laying in a pool of his own blood and piss after a showdown with the Beast. So the fact that Drew put him down so definitively, Orton gave him props for that. So anyway, he calls out Drew and says, I want a title match at SummerSlam. As he's leaving, there is a loud plane going overhead. Let me let that fly over real quick. As he's leaving, Nia Jax comes out, before Orton's even gone. We haven't seen Nia Jax in a while. It was reported online that we would be seeing her this week, and it was funny. I can't remember if it was in the Winged Eagle yesterday or if it was in last week's Raw review. I couldn't remember what happened to Nia Jax. Somebody had brought her up. I'm like, oh yeah, Nia Jax. Where the hell is she? And I'm like, oh, that's right, she's injured. And I'm like, no, wait, she's not injured. She just came back from an injury. I had no idea where she was. I even forgot about the Charlotte angle. So to me, unless there was a reason, now if there's a specific reason why Nia couldn't be on TV, whether it was a COVID issue or some other reason or some other personal issue that was out of WWE's hands, no problem. But you would think that after Nia did what she did to Charlotte, knocking her out of action, she should be going on a tear throughout the past few weeks. Ever since she did that to Charlotte, they should have had her beat women on TV, get the fans all pissed at her on Twitter, just have her beat people, have her beat Kairi Sane again, just so the fans can lose their shit. And then you have the Shayna Baszler confrontation, build it up to that. But instead, both these women have been off TV for the last couple of weeks or last few weeks, Shayna for the last few months. So I thought the whole thing, as good as it was, kind of came out of nowhere. So Nia gets in the ring, says she wants a title shot, and that's when Shayna comes out. They stare each other down. A brawl ensues. Referees have to break it up, and they schedule the match for later on in the night, Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler. So what I thought they were doing is that Nia and Shayna would basically battle for the right to face Asuka at SummerSlam, because I've been saying all along, we'll get to that later, but I've been saying all along, Asuka should keep the Raw title because you can have a big match for SummerSlam with the Raw title. Putting it on Sasha and putting it all over there, it's cool. It's cool visual. I got nothing against the 2-women power trip, but I think you get more mileage if you just keep the belt on Raw and you have yourself 2 big women's matches on SummerSlam instead of just one. I mean, you're still going to have that if Bayley and Sasha wrestle separate opponents, but there's also the chance they could wrestle each other, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that later on as well. So anyway, Shayna comes out there, brawls. They get a match later on in the night. And in another either brain fart or WWE changed something, all week long I had the advertised match, the tag team match tonight, to earn the opportunity to face the Street Profits at SummerSlam. I had that written down as a straight-up tag team match. I thought it was Cedric and Ricochet against Andrade and Garza. That I talked about that yesterday in the Raw preview on the Winged Eagle. I mentioned nothing about the Viking Raiders. I don't know if I'm just dumb or how I missed that, or if it was changed last minute to a triple threat. I don't know. But anyway, turned out it was a triple threat with the Viking Raiders added to that. The winners would face the Street Profits. Profits hit the ring first. They introduced all of the participants, and then they sat in on commentary for the match. And Andrade and Garza won. I think it was Garza pinning, I think, Cedric for the win there. So, yeah, I kind of like that they're almost doing the Sasha and Bayley thing with them. Like, they seem like they're on the verge of breaking up. They've got tension. They've got more tension than Sasha and Bayley. Sasha and Bayley is more subtle, but you just feel like, okay, when are these two going to implode? But yet they keep surviving. They keep staying together. They can make a love song out of these two, the relationship between them, and Zelina kind of really keeping the threads together there. So they pick up the win. They get the tag match against the Street Profits. I was hoping for Cedric and Ricochet. That's what we talked about yesterday. I would love it since it's two guys that WWE isn't doing anything with anyway. You know, sometimes that's how the greatest tag teams are born. The best example of that is the New Age Outlaws. And Cedric and Ricochet, you put them together, you color coordinate them, you give them a team name, you give them some new music instead of coming out to each other's music, and just put them together and make them a team and beef up your tag team division. I've touted those two for a long time. I'm like, what can Cedric and Ricochet not do in the ring that the Bucks can do? You know what I mean? You can't get a better athletic tag team than that. So put them together. So I was kind of hoping they would win that match and, you know, go on to be a formidable tag team. But what I'm hoping maybe, instead of them just continuing to lose and continuing to flounder, is that WWE turns them heel. Maybe they join the Hurt Business and then they get, you know, kind of a new attitude, maybe a team name, maybe a little bit more of a vicious streak, and join the group, and then they can still be a formidable tag team even though they lost here. So maybe they can do that with them. Either way, I think there's potential in the two of those guys together, since clearly singles gold is not in the cards for either of them. Why not do this? And why not have them win a match here and there? Like, what the fuck? So we'll see what the future holds for Ricochet and Cedric, the sports entertainer. Anyway, what do we have next? Next, we did the Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler match. This was quick. What did it go? A minute? Brawl. And I was curious, too. I'm like, what are they going to do here? I didn't think. You kind of could smell the screwy finish because I can't see WWE beating either of those two right now. And if you're trying to determine an opponent for the Raw Women's title, you know, I figured it was going to be one of those two. Now there might be a third player involved in the mix there. But as soon as the match gets underway, they're brawling some more. They both spill on the outside of the ring. Referee counts them out. So they basically did the match for no reason. They didn't need to do the match to do the brawl and the pull apart because they did that in the segment. So basically either the segment or the match, one of those two didn't need to happen. They could accomplish everything in one. They basically did the same thing twice. And I thought that was weird. So the match lasted no time at all. Officials come out to break it up. Nia Jax gets one of the officials, some dude at the end, and pummels him and whips his ass, and that was that. So we'll see if we get another match on Raw, or I can't see them taking Shayna and Nia into SummerSlam. I would think one of those two would get a title shot, or it's going to be Sasha Banks, who kind of called out Stephanie McMahon tonight in her promo. I think maybe Stephanie sticks it to Sasha by making her defend in a fatal four-way. You know, something like that. It might be Sasha versus Asuka, Nia, and Shayna. Fatal four-way for the title. Bayley will face someone one-on-one for her title. I thought it was going to be the title staying on Raw and Sasha and Bayley colliding for the SmackDown, but that might be different now. So we'll see. We're either going to get Sasha defending against one of those three or all three of them, I would assume. And I can see Stephanie doing that, especially since Sasha's been kind of an asshole to her. What do y'all think? Nia Jax is your wife? Tell her what's up. Hope she's a fan of the show. All right, what was next? Oh, yeah, we got a thrilling recap of the eye for an eye match. It's almost as if WWE is proud of it. Like, they replayed the whole thing. They even showed a close-up of the eye in Ray's hand. It's like, dudes, every wrestling fan out there shit on that match. It was so dumb. And it's like you're touting it. It's like you're bragging about, oh, what great job we did. That was stupid, man. So anyway, we got a big recap of that. Rollins and Murphy are backstage pondering whether or not Dominic will show up to the ring because he was invited and they know he's here. So we go to the ring. Seth Rollins is talking, going on about Aleister Black and everybody else that he's annihilated because the fans made him do it. And he calls out Dominic to confront him face to face because last time Dominic showed up, he attacked him from behind. So he wants him to come out and confront him like a man, which Dominic does. Dominic's the best part of this whole thing. You know, the Monday Night Messiah gimmick, I think, is better for Seth than a babyface, but it ain't for everybody. And I see a lot of criticisms for Seth online. Some of it fans just aren't into. Some fans do like it. I think that's better than what he was doing with his babyface. He didn't feel like he was connecting with anybody at the end there. You know, so here at least there's a little bit of a mixture, but still overall, it's not the niche we want for Seth, I don't think. So he gets Dominic to come in the ring. They're fan, but Dominic, by the way, is, to finish my point, he was the one that I think is really making this angle because he doesn't seem, every time they brought in a wrestler's kid or a family member, that family member is always portrayed to be weak or needing help or needing protection. It's always usually at the detriment to that babyface who is stuck having to worry about the protection of him, and good way for heels to get heat and shit. Dominic, you know, even though he's gotten his ass kicked a couple of times on TV, he does not come off like a weak, cowering little man. I mean, he's a badass. This guy looks more like Walter than he does Rey Mysterio, and he doesn't seem to be backing down. He's attacking, you know, a guy that holds multiple victories over UFC champion Brock Lesnar. He's showing no fear. He comes out to the ring here, gets in Seth's face, and then double leg dives him and takes him down, and the brawl is on. And it's 2-on-1 because Murphy's out there. So Dominic, showing more guts than brains, attacks Seth. Eventually, Seth and Murphy get him in a compromising position. They beat the crap out of him. Just throw him outside of the ring. I think they got him on the table and the ring post, all over, just slamming his ass all over the outside of the ring. Aleister Black comes down. He was kind of injured last week. He comes out to try to defend Dominic. He gets his ass kicked as well and winds up getting stomped on the floor by Seth, who then kind of like orders Buddy Murphy to gouge out the eye of Aleister Black. Murphy seems somewhat conflicted, but he also has serial killer eyes. So he's like the conflicted sociopath almost. He's got this real scary look in his eyes, but he's almost not sure if he wants to do it. Like, it takes some convincing from Seth. Seth even slaps him right in the face, and then eventually Murphy goes and gets Aleister and gouges his eye. They just love putting people's eye through the corner of those steps, and does the same thing to Aleister, and he's screaming in pain. So I don't know. I didn't see a fishing bobber in his hand like I did with the Mysterio match, but it definitely looks like he's suffered another injury. He's got an injured arm. Now he's missing an eye. Black is a mess. And since they already taped this probably, I think, last week or whatever it was, maybe Aleister Black's off TV for a while as well. As we kind of mentioned that last week. Dominic, though, winds up coming back to life. He somehow finds a kendo stick, because why wouldn't there be one under the ring? He's got that. He starts wearing out Murphy and Seth Rollins, and they run off. He makes them retreat. I'm like, oh, see? I'm like, this is why I love Dominic. He's the only good thing about this whole silly situation, is not only did this kid get murdered by Seth and Murphy, he comes back to life and fights him off with a weapon and stands there all mad. Like, I love this kid. I love him. I think Dominic's the best. So he's the one little kind of shining nugget in this whole thing, and I think he's done really well, and he's come off differently, like I said, than most times when they involve family members. Even if they're family members that are training to wrestle, they're always portrayed as, needing protection. Dominic is like, fuck that. I'll get right in your face, former WWE champion. I don't care. I like that. So anyway, best of luck to Dominic. He's doing good work, and I'm enjoying him in this whole stupid angle with the Monday Night Messiah. We had the VIP lounge next. The guest on the VIP lounge was going to be the newly returned Mustafa Ali, who returned last week, right? And picked up a win. So he's on the VIP lounge here, and prior to him coming out there, he's got an interaction backstage with R-Truth, which, to me, I just don't understand the point of, because they basically let you know what's going to happen. So Truth is... Mustafa Ali's like doing jumping jacks or some shit backstage. Truth approaches him, and he looks at him, and he goes, I'm going to get my baby back, referring to the 24/7 title. calls him by his wrong name, wishes him luck on the MVP lounge instead of the VIP lounge. And I think he calls him Mustasa. He calls him something wrong or whatever, but he's like, I got my eye on you, and like walks away. So to me, it's like you didn't even need to do that, because what we would see later once he gets on the VIP lounge is that, first of all, let me say he's pretty good on the mic. I liked what Mustafa was saying, because he even went on to say that he wants to prove himself and he wants to become a real champion, and emphasized real, because we know MVP's parading around with that U.S. title, and he's not the official champion. So MVP then kind of proposes what we knew he would. He goes, come on, man, you need leadership and you need direction. And, ever since these guys have been with me, their careers have changed and you need to join us. And Mustafa says no. He goes, no, F off, dude. I don't need you. I can think for myself. Those two meatheads, you've brainwashed them, and I'm not going to be played like that. So he really stood up to MVP, which I liked. And MVP kind of threatens him. He goes, look, Apollo Crews, he refused our proposal, and look where he is. He's on his couch right now at home, unable to compete. So you got two choices. You join the Hurt Business, or you join Apollo Crews on the couch. And Mustafa stands his ground. He goes, nope, fuck you. And he's going to be taking on Bobby Lashley in a match after the commercial break. But prior to that, that's when R-Truth hits the ring, because Shelton, Benjamin, and Lashley are both in the ring with MVP, and Truth attacks Shelton, and they brawl on the outside of the ring. And I think Shelton gets away with the title or whatever. They chase, all three of them chase away R-Truth. So he runs away. He's unsuccessful getting the title back. But wouldn't that have been so much better if they didn't do the backstage segment prior to the MVP or the VIP lounge, and then Truth just attacks? It's almost as if WWE thinks wrestling fans are so unbelievably stupid, which that might not be a far stretch, but still, we're not that dumb. And it's almost like they had to remind you that R-Truth wants his belt back with that backstage segment, because you could have just done the VIP lounge and had R-Truth attack, and the fans would know why. They remember last week Shelton beat him for the title. So I just think it's like little things like that are just time-burning segments that make no sense. Truth is funny. I have never have an issue with him doing a backstage segment because he's always cracking us up, but like it was unnecessary in the terms of the story. Yeah, we know who R-Truth is. We know he's obsessed with the 24/7 title. They didn't have to telegraph it and let the cat out of the bag that he's going to run out there in the VIP lounge. Of course he is. So little things like that. It's just a minor nitpick, but it's like they didn't even need to do that. So that's a second segment of the night that was meaningless. Like you couldn't have done, and the same stories could have been told. We see that shit every week. I mean, you got 3 hours to fill, so what do you expect? After that, we had the Lashley versus Ali match. This match upset a lot of people. People were not kind to this match on social media. I will say this about the match itself. It was good. It was a really good match. Lashley, one thing I noticed about him in the VIP lounge is he finally kind of looks like the badass that we all knew he was. Like, it always felt like he was trying to find his look, or trying to find his niche, because he's, an MMA badass. He's a legit tough guy. He should be presented like a Brock Lesnar type, but I think due to his look and the fact that he's almost just not rugged enough, for all of his, muscles and how big and jacked he is. He doesn't have that mean look. He's got a very handsome face. He's got those big, bright, white eyes, very smooth skin, no tattoos kind of thing. So it's really hard to put him over as a killer just with that look, because he's a good looking dude. So I've always felt like that has hurt him a little bit. The fact that he's actually almost too good looking for the role. You give him some missing teeth, make one of his eyes crooked, give him a broken nose and a bunch of tattoos on his chest. I ain't messing with that guy. So the way he looked tonight, I liked. He was just standing there, just a little more business. He had the black hat and the black zip up vest on, and I liked it. It was simple, but to me, it's like that's kind of what I envisioned Lashley, just standing there silent, mean look on his face, hat kind of over his face, and that's kind of just the look and vibe I would prefer from Lashley, and that I think he should have had all along. But instead, they had him doing so much dumb crap since he's been there. And I always remember that Sami Zayn stuff and the obstacle course, and then his sisters, and then the Lana and Rusev and the cake, and come on. So I almost think it's too late for Lashley to ever be like a really formidable threat for a title really ever again. But at least he's kind of given off that don't fuck with me vibe, and it's about time, because Lashley's awesome. And he beat Ali. Even though it was a really good match, he tapped Ali out with the full Nelson. And during the match, though, this was crazy. So Shelton Benjamin and MVP, I think, are both out there. During the match, Akira Tozawa appears from under the ring, dressed in his ninja costume, and he rolls up Shelton Benjamin on the outside of the ring trying to win the 24/7 title. Shelton kicks out. More ninjas appear, and Lashley takes one of the ninjas and absolutely murders him. There's a lot of speculation online that this particular ninja was Malcolm Bivens. And he takes him and he almost like F5s him into the ring post, and he does a full 360. He spins around like a helicopter propeller and lands hard on the mat. I wasn't expecting to see ninja murder tonight, but I'm glad I did because it was something that I wasn't expecting, and props to WWE for surprising me. So that was very cool. But in the end, like I said, Mustafa taps out to the full Nelson. And I think a lot of the anger on Twitter, at least I hope, wasn't that he lost to Lashley per se. Like Lashley versus Ali, based on their spots in the card, even though Lashley's jumping out of cakes and shit, I still think he's a little higher up than Ali. So that match one-on-one, yeah, Lashley probably should go over. But why even book that match? You just brought Ali back, and why put him in there to get beat? Put someone else in there for Lashley to beat. Come on, man. So you can never get excited about someone returning. You can never feel optimistic about, oh, maybe WWE's going to do it right this time, because they never do. So I think I'm in agreement with most of the complaining. I'm not in agreement with the fact that he lost to Lashley himself. It's not that. It's just that he was out there facing somebody that would beat him at all. He should be in the ring with somebody else that he can beat. Just let him string up some victories. Let us get behind Ali. Let him continue to impress. Let him have post-match interviews so he can continue to have promos, because he's not horrible on the mic. He's pretty good. And if he was supposed to be the hacker, you've already screwed that up. So give the kid a chance. I think having him tap out to the full Nelson against Lashley, you could have 10, 15 other wrestlers in that ring with Lashley instead, and have Ali face Shelton Benjamin. That's what you should have done. I mean, maybe they're trying to get Shelton back in his winning ways as well, but I would have preferred maybe that match and have Ali beat him. Just have him win. Like, what the F, man? So, anyway, great match. Kind of a disappointing outcome, and kind of disappointing that they booked the match at all. Don't book Ali in matches to lose 1 week after he got back. Jesus Christ, WWE. 30 writers, I think they have. Isn't it like 30? Takes 30 people to come up with this. Right on. Oh, Mufasa. That's right. I couldn't remember what his name was. And yeah, we don't care who you hate. Not important, stupid bird. We don't care about any of your negative shit. Anyway, what was next on Raw? Sasha and Bayley cut a promo prior to the Asuka and Sasha match. They were out there first. The fact that this match wasn't the main event did concern me a little bit. But I kind of thought if Sasha was going to win the title, they might have that in the main event. And we've all been kind of concerned about the fact that you can lose this match via DQ, or you can lose the title via DQ and count out. So that kind of opened up the door for Sasha to win in a shady way. But I still maintained, even though that was quite obvious, and we talked about that last week, I'm like, shit, that could be a problem. I still just thought the belt should stay on Raw. And it didn't. So Sasha and Bayley are out there cutting a promo first. They're talking all that smack. That's when Sasha says a couple of words about Stephanie McMahon, even going as far as calling her a bully. And that might tie into her SummerSlam match. That's why I smell like a Fatal 4-Way or something. So they have the match. Match kicks off. Sasha Banks almost gets DQ'd. She tries to do the Eddie Guerrero thing with the title belt and throw it at Asuka and then fall down. But the referee sees the whole thing. He's like, dude, I just saw you throw the belt. Like, what the fuck? And she's begging him not to DQ her. And that's when the match continues. And they have an excellent match. I mean, this is another one that's much like Lashley and Ali, and the tag match was very good. I thought this match was solid, and it always is. There's an unbelievable amount of chemistry between Sasha and Asuka. You can tell that. All their matches throughout the years have been good. Really good middle rope codebreaker spot between the two, which Sasha just took a terrific bump, and loved that. In the end, though, the heels, those sneaky heels, do what we kind of thought they might and take advantage of that no DQ and countout rule. And they go to the video wall to show Bayley beating the shit out of Kairi Sane backstage, stomping her. Kairi's screaming in pain. She's got her up against one of those garage doors and just stomping her into hell. And Kairi is screaming. She's like, Asuka. Asuka sees all this. She's trying to stay in the ring and stay focused. She even has the Asuka lock on Sasha, but it's very reminiscent of Shawn and Jose Lothario when Sid at the Survivor Series took the camera and smashed it in Jose Lothario's chest. And he's like dying on the outside of the ring, and Shawn just abandons the match to go take care of him, and that's when he gets nailed, powerbombed, and pinned. Kind of similar here, where Asuka's finding herself in a position where she has to choose what she's going to do. And she finally, after Kyrie is going, Asuka, Asuka, she's screaming for Asuka. She drops Sasha and runs off, forfeits her title. Referee counts her out. Sasha is your new Raw Women's Champion. Crazy. She gets to celebrate. Bayley runs out there. She's laughing her ass off. They pulled one over huge on the baby faces, and they did. I got to say, Bayley and Sasha, they're smart, from a kayfabe perspective. They're smart heels. They're a smart team. They know how to take advantage of everything, and that was a very smart plan. Test the friendship of these two, and all you got to do is just attack Kyrie, and Asuka's going to run out of the ring and get herself counted out. That's all you had to do. So they did it. Sasha's your new champ, and now we'll see. Because after the match, they were celebrating backstage with Charlie Caruso. They're hopping around like crazy people, and they run off all happy. They didn't even say anything. They were just screaming. And then Asuka kind of comes into frame, and she's lividly pissed, and she's screaming. You almost look like she's going to snap or something. So now I'm like, what's she going to do? What do they do now with all of this? Does it, Asuka and Shayna and Nia all kind of battle for the opportunity to take on Sasha, or do they make it a fatal four-way because Sasha's been talking all that smack to Stephanie? Or is this just temporary and they find a way to slide that belt back over to Asuka prior to SummerSlam? Or Sasha and Bayley just going to hold all the gold for a while? Imagine if this was Charlotte doing all this. Overexposed, too much. But for some reason, Bayley and Sasha, it's cool. But I'm fine with it, even though it's completely against what I thought they would do. I'm not necessarily against Sasha and Bayley having all the titles. Why not? We got a lot of double champions right now. At least Keith Lee forfeited his. So sometimes that's not always good, but Sasha and Bayley probably are one of the most over angles and storylines and characters on TV right now in current times, along with Randy Orton. It's really the three of them, I think, that are carrying my interest in most of the shows. So props to him, man. Come a long way from Sasha leaving for all those months and coming back. Look at those two. We'll see. At least it'll make it interesting, and I'm not kind of sure what direction they'll go. We could see anything. We'll know more next week, and I'm sure Sasha and Bayley will be a hoot on Friday Night SmackDown. They might be the only reason to really watch the show on Friday. What do y'all think? Yeah, she did. I agree with that. I agree with that too. Yeah, a lot of people were mad about that match, about the Ali and Lashley match. I just thought it was like, why do you even do that? What was next? Murphy, Humberto Carrillo. So we got another match between these two. It wasn't long. Murphy beat him pretty quickly. Another solid little match, but they didn't give him much time to do anything, and Humberto just continues to lose, and whatever. I mean, that was just kind of a throwaway match there. So that left us with the main event. What's our audience in here? Oh, yeah, real bad audience in here. But you know what? It was a real bad Raw, so whatever. Can you guys do me a favor and smash that thumbs up for me? I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we'll get into the main event now, which saw Drew McIntyre taking on Dolph Ziggler. I incorrectly advertised this match yesterday in the Winged Eagle as a title match because I thought it was. Why was Ziggler begging so hard for this match if it wasn't a title match? I wouldn't want the match if it wasn't a title match. So last week on Raw, when we saw the segment between the two, and Ziggler and Drew was like, no, I'm done with you, and then Ziggler actually convinces him to give him one more chance. If it's not for the title, then why does Ziggler even want that one more chance? So I just kind of assumed it was going to be another title match, something to advertise for Raw. Hey, it's a world title match on Raw. Why not tune in, right? Kind of thing. But it wasn't. So I don't know if it was initially a title match and they changed it, or if it was never a title match. But if it was never a title match, I don't understand why Ziggler begged for it so hard. If I'm in Ziggler's shoes, I don't care unless it's for the title. Unless he thinks, from a kayfabe standpoint, that a win here will put him back into title contention. But why take that extra step? Just, if you can beg for a title match, you got it the first time. He agreed, so why not do it again? Anyway, it wasn't a title match, which made me really not care who was going to win, but you knew Randy Orton was going to get involved here. And in the end, Drew McIntyre comes out. He cuts a promo first and officially accepts Randy Orton's challenge for SummerSlam. So that match is on, which is great. And then Ziggler comes out and he's like, come on, I want to know the stipulation. And like I said earlier, I was kind of hoping Drew would be like, I don't need a stipulation. I'll just beat your ass kind of thing. And he kind of did that. He just made it an Extreme Rules match, just like at the pay-per-view, only this time neither guy's at a disadvantage. Neither guy's barred from using the weapons. So he goes, you can do everything you did at the pay-per-view, but so can I. So bring it. And he just beats the crap out of Dolph Ziggler. And great finish in the end there where he claymores him right through a table and beats him. And while he's celebrating, in slithers Randy Orton, hits him with an RKO out of nowhere, which Drew even said in his promo. He goes, I know your RKOs can come out of nowhere, but that's a terrible accent, but my Claymore, you'll see it coming, which I don't know why he's bragging about that. If you can see a move coming, you can block it. But anyway, Orton does hit the RKO out of nowhere on Drew, picks up the title, poses with it over his body as the show goes off the air, and that feud is now kicked off, and I'm ready for it. I think it's got potential. I think Randy Orton can help Drew McIntyre. I think Randy Orton's a good guy for him to work with in this stage because, Orton, like he said in his promo, he's got that resume. And when you compare it to the resume of McIntyre, he said that would be a pretty short comparison when you take my 15 world titles or whatever it is, 13 to your 1. And I think that's a great veteran for him to work with. And I'm curious, what their plans are for those two. If, since Edge is still on the shelf for a while, if they're going to do some belt trading. I mean, I'm all for Randy Orton holding gold again. No problem. But at the same time, I'm also all for Drew McIntyre continuing to roll and slaying one legend after another. To me, you got to build somebody. You did all this shit with Roman Reigns, all those years ago, had him beat everybody, and everybody rejected him, so you run the same risk of that happening with Drew if you put him over the same way. But if he's a badass, ass-kicking machine like he's being presented as, I don't know how he loses to Orton. But with the work Orton's doing, he'd be a fantastic heel champion. And maybe they can put the belt on Orton, let him run with it during some more pandemic months. And that's a big if, we can get fans back in an arena before the conclusion of the year of 2020, maybe they can give it back to Drew heading into next year's WrestleMania, and he could try to get some sort of a run as champion in front of an audience. I don't know. I guess I'm fine either way. I think regardless of what they do on SummerSlam, I can see the good in it, and that's good, thank God, because a lot of times we have a main event. As far as, wrestling, the online wrestling community goes, it's only one outcome possible, and if any other outcome happens other than that, then WWE's foolish and stupid and all that crap. Everybody is so one-sided on everything. This is a situation where I can find the good either way. Regardless of who goes over here at SummerSlam, I can get behind it because I think both are good options. So it's up to WWE. We'll see. What say y'all on the SummerSlam main event? Who you got? Reese Jones, thank you, man. Appreciate the $5. I heard that when he comes back, WWE are planning Edge vs. Orton 3, possibly at WrestleMania, in an I Quit match, possibly involving the WWE title. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know how stories like that get booked or get reported because that is so fucking far away. WWE doesn't know what they're doing tomorrow. They don't even know what they're doing for SummerSlam. They don't even know where it's going to be, and it's in 3 weeks. So how they can have matches penciled in 9 months from now, I have no idea. So I read that, but I can't take much stock in that because, who knows where we're even going to be next year and what the world is going to look like and what the situation is going to be and all of that. So if they do Edge vs. Orton 3 at WrestleMania, I'm all for it. I Quit match will be fun. If it's for a title, it would be even more fun. If they go through with that match, I'm on board. I just think it's so far away that I don't know how they can possibly pencil that in. You know what I mean? We'll see, but I'm all for that. I got a really good feeling about that match if they go through with it. I don't care. So I just don't know how they know that. WWE has no idea. They got their heads up their asses, man. Oh man, and who knows what's going to happen with WrestleMania? I'm hoping it's going to be here, but I'm starting to get nervous, man. Very nervous. I said today on Twitter, I said they should put the Royal Rumble on an offshore oil rig and just toss people over the top rope off the platform into the ocean. How fun would that be? I think it would be fun. Oh man, Vince's pool. It's a nice one. I wonder if Vince still has that big oil painting over his house or over the couch in his house. What's going on, Jordan? Good to see you. I agree, Chris. Mufasa won't be pushed around, and that's why I liked on his promo. I mean, he's in there with 3 guys, and he's one of them being Lashley, and he's not backing down. He's like, no, man, F you. I'm not going to be brainwashed. I can think for myself. I like the confidence. I like that anytime I see that on the mic from anybody. Kevin Owens kind of has that. I like guys that just ain't taking any shit and aren't influenced, and they're confident in who they are, and they project that confidence. I like that. Like, I would be that way if I was a wrestler. I'm like, motherfucker, you're not. I would never be Buddy Murphy, Like, the minute Seth Rollins put his hands on my face, I would wait out his house with a baseball bat and beat him to death. So I would just not take that. My character would not have anything to do with that. And I like that Mustafa kind of shows characteristics of that. He's awesome. He's an awesome talent. He's got himself in great shape during his time off, maintained a good attitude. He's an absolute gem of a human being, constantly doing shit for charity. Very good dude. And he's the exact type of person you would want to push and put in big situations. And tonight they didn't really do that, but maybe that'll lead to more. And I don't know, just why WWE brings someone back, they lose the next week. It is so unbelievably common. And that's why they are where they are. Dominic won't be anywhere near as good as his father. Well, that kind of remains to be seen. I mean, it's going to be really hard to top a resume and legacy of a Rey Mysterio Jr., that's for sure. But it's an awful lot of assuming there. I think Dominic's pretty good. He's not going to be the same wrestler as his dad, which I think is really going to benefit him, because if he wrestled a cruiserweight style, that's the best in the world. Rey, best in the world ever. He's the Michael Jordan of the cruiserweights. He really is. So it's impossible shoes to fill. But he's a bigger guy, and he ain't going to be doing, I mean, he might do a 619 or something, or he might have some tributes to his dad, but he's going to have a little bit more power in his offense and in his repertoire than his dad did. And I think he's going to wrestle a mostly different style, but probably still slightly athletic. But I just hope I hope he grounds and pounds, but has, a couple of callbacks to his dad at the same time. And that's good, because if they were the same, if he was his dad's size, like they were the same size and same weight, he'd be fucked. The fact that he's bigger and has a different look than Rey and is not wearing a mask, completely different presentation all around. Who knows? Maybe his resume can be as good as his dad one day, or at least, be a Hall of Fame wrestler or something, Get some more father-sons combos in the Hall of Fame. Everybody that I've seen has been complimentary of Dominic. Even the asshole fans, they've all been like, he's pretty good. He's been impressive. And he has. We're all rooting for him. That is true. Nick Hogan will never be as good as his dad. And his dad is no picnic. He's no piece of pie. Yeah, Nick Hogan always seemed like a little prick, didn't he? I don't know how he's doing now. Maybe he's grown up. But yeah, he's a mess. Hurt Business is a lame name. I didn't like it either. So I've heard some people compliment the name. Some people like the faction name. I know I said last week or the week before, when I didn't know what the name was, I'm like, what is it? Hurt Factory or Hurt Show or something? I couldn't remember. I'm like, whatever it is, I didn't like it. I'm not that happy about it either. I'm not that thrilled with the name, but at least it's a name. And MVP is great. You guys notice that? He's fantastic on the mic. No stammering, no stuttering. He gets his point across. You listen to him. He's got a great voice for that, and he's good at commanding attention, and he's good at getting his point across. And I think he's really solid on the mic, and he's a great guy to head up a faction. He really is. They found a prize in him when they brought him back randomly. It was the Royal Rumble, right? And he's good. I like him. Great heel. I like the fact that he's got that U.S. title out there, and we still don't know who the champion is, right? I mean, at some point, if Apollo's not back, they're going to have to strip him. They're not acknowledging that he's the champion. They don't announce him as the champion. I don't believe he's listed as the champion on the WWE's website, but he's out there with the belt. It's better than the Beatdown Clan. Yeah, that's true. Ooh, Trey, that would be a good match to go back and watch. I always praise the CM Punk Brock Lesnar 2013 SummerSlam match, but it's been a while since I've actually watched it again. Probably over a year or something like that. Since I've even looked, or maybe more years than that, a few years. That was a good match. Yeah, we all got our eyes on Rock's daughter. We're wishing her well. I forgot her name now. Can you imagine if she gets good? Can you imagine if she's even like half as good as Charlotte, like in the ring? How they can capitalize on that? They got little, Charlotte isn't a carbon copy of Nature Boy. She's got the little tie-in with the music. She wears the robes, but it's still kind of a different presentation that her dad's is sort of. And I can see them doing the same thing with her. Just have, I don't know if she can do the eyebrow or what, but if they can take like Rock's old theme song and spice it up into a female theme, kind of like they did with Flair's and Charlotte's, I think that would be fun, especially if she gets over and she's good and she's athletic and she progresses well in her training and in the ring and stuff. I haven't even seen her work out. I might have seen some workout clips of her from the PC, but I haven't really seen her do anything in the ring at all. But if Charlotte's doing the figure four and shit, it's Simone. That's right, it's Simone. Simone will be doing the people's elbow and all that stuff. So I want her to succeed just for the fact that we can have a connection to The Rock. Fans get pissed at that for some reason. Because that's what's going to happen to poor Simone the minute she gets a title. She's the Rock star and blah, 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 blah. It's all we're going to fucking hear from these drooling, blithering idiots. Especially, and even if she's good, even if she's legitimately good, like Charlotte is legitimately good, she's going to be hated regardless. So not even good in-ring work is going to be able to save her if she gets pushed too hard and if she gets pushed like Charlotte does. So there's got to be a balance there. They got to, if she is good, just don't Charlotte her, because don't give the fans a reason to tear her down when she's really good and doesn't deserve it. So it's almost like WWE just pump the brakes on the push. Let's not put her in the main event of WrestleMania a year after she debuts. And if you can find that, that balance there between the two of not overdoing it, but also really heavily focusing on her family and her legacy and her character and stuff, I'm all for it. Wishing her the best. I'm with you, Jordan. You gave her, yeah, that's the thing. You thought Raw was okay. It's hard to really say a show is bad when you had so much good wrestling, and that's why I was laughing at WWE. I'm like, only they can turn chicken salad into chicken shit. And that's what they did. But still know where it needs to be is exactly right. They are far from that. And that's mostly due to COVID. I still think, the COVID is the number one reason why wrestling sucks so bad, and then WWE's shitty booking and creative problems that we had prior to the pandemic, that's now number two. That's now the number two reason. It was the number one prior to the pandemic. But when you got no audience and you got these silent dead shows and you have everything changing and you never know what the future is going to hold, you don't know where your next show is going to be, you don't know what the future is going to be, you don't know where you're going to be at next year. You have no way of really planning for the future because everything's so effed up right now. COVID's playing its role. COVID is doing a huge number on pro wrestling. It's halted, I think, a lot of momentum for AEW, who's still putting on good shows, and they're still competing and beating NXT in the ratings. But think about had we not had the pandemic and we would have had another 7 months of Dynamites with an audience, some of the pops we would have gotten when FTR debuted and shit like that. It could have been great. And COVID has just done a number on everything. Sports, too. Baseball tried to kick off a couple of days ago. Now the Florida Marlins have got a bunch of COVID tests and their games are postponed. And you just feel like the baseball season has started, but it ain't going to last. Like they're going to have to shut it down again. And it sucks, man. Ready for this crap to be over. Oh, nice. 3 subs away from Jordan on 1,000. Go over to his YouTube channel and sub him. Sub him hard. Good and hard. He likes it that way. And he found a job too. Nice. Yeah, WWE, they definitely suck at building new stars, especially when all of the new stars that have potential lose to the old stars. Goldberg beating Owens, Goldberg beating The Fiend, Lesnar beating Kofi, and all that shit, Charlotte beating Rhea Ripley. I mean, every time. It's like they don't let them breathe at all. Yeah, and that AEW War Games match would have happened. I mean, they went as far as to advertise that and put it off. And I feel like they could do it now in Daly's place, but, that whole thing that we were looking forward to, not happening now. They probably won't go back to it until maybe next year or something. COVID killed the XFL too. COVID killed everything. And I don't know what's going to go on with everybody's unemployment benefits and stuff, because those run out, I think, this month. At least here in California, they were throwing everybody an extra $600 a week on top of the unemployment they already give you, and that ends at the end of July. So unless they extend that, people who are unemployed are going to really be struggling now with that loss of income. COVID has just ravaged us, man. Ravaged us. I'm hoping, man, in a year from now, we can be on this channel doing Raw reviews, talking about a great show in front of an audience. I don't know. A year, you think? Or longer? I think a year's minimum. Hey, I'd be into that. I'd definitely be into that, Darren. Orton, if he does win at SummerSlam and then giving Drew the rematch at the Royal Rumble. The only issue with that, I think Drew getting the shot at the Royal Rumble, especially if there is an audience there, would be great for him. But man, you got a lot of time to kill. And with no Edge yet, that's probably around the time when Edge is going to be coming back. So the timing would be good for Orton to drop the belt, maybe work with Edge. But there's talk about Edge getting title shots in the future as well. So I don't know if Orton beats Drew at SummerSlam, how do you hold those two off all the way until the Royal Rumble? They're going to have at least one rematch first, probably the next pay-per-view, and then maybe Drew works somebody else until the end of the year. But that could halt his momentum too. So I don't know. I don't know what they did or what they're going to do. Oh yeah, I would think anything happening in January is still up in the air because that's really close. They postponed the Jericho Cruise, which is going to allow me to go now if it does actually happen. They postponed it until next October, 1 year from this October. So provided everything's kind of back to normal, I'll be on that thing. I made my deposit. We'll see, but who just knows? Who knows when anybody will ever be able to do anything again? We just don't know. I just hope it happens before I die. Hey, I'd like the Royal Rumble on top of the Stanford Towers, but they already did it with the Money in the Bank. And plus, who fell off the roof? Somebody got tossed off. Was it Ray or was it Corbin? I forgot. It just wasn't off the whole roof. I brought up the oil rig, the offshore oil rig for Royal Rumble. Have them put ropes around the whole platform. I mean, it'll be huge. It's not going to be a 20 by 20 ring. It's going to be a lot bigger than that, probably 100 by 100. And then toss people off the edge. Make the long fall 100 feet down. Splash. Sharks down there, put a whole bunch of chum in the water. Oh my God, that would be great. SummerSlam on a cruise ship, I've read that. WWE is apparently looking into other options to hold the show, maybe at a beach, maybe outdoors, or maybe on a boat. They found a big boat at one of the ports or something where the cruise ships dock, and they can do it there. That might be fun just with an outdoor setting. Hopefully it won't rain, or they can put a canopy up or something, or they can just do it right on the beach. I wouldn't mind that. Doing it right on the beach since there's not going to be a crowd there, because one thing when WCW did that years ago, I think that was the cage match with Hogan and Vader. One thing I noticed, and Road Wild and Hog Wild was a lot like this too, is that there were no seats and there was no elevation. So like everybody just came around the ring. Basically every single person that attended the show had floor seats. And, to me, even if you're at a WWE show, anything past like 5 rows back, I don't want to be on the floor. I'd rather be on the first level where I can just, see the ring. Because then you got to worry about people being all up in your way. But if you're 150 rows back, what the hell can you see? So their beach show was a lot like that, just with people spread out all around the ring. And you can't even see anything. And then the Sturgis shows were like that too. But with no fans, you can do a show on the beach because you don't need to worry about where they stand and where they sit and shit. So I would love to see WWE try something, and if they do, that's good. We've heard reports of Vince McMahon just not wanting to have SummerSlam at the PC. He wants to do something more fun. And to me, that's like good news, not bad. Everybody says Vince is out of touch and, he's tone deaf and all this shit. At least at least he knows enough to say, I don't want to give the fans the same old bullshit that they've been seeing for the last several months out of the PC for my second biggest pay-per-view of the year. We want to give them something better than that. So they're trying. They at least got to give them credit for that. Sometimes it feels like they phone the shows in. Sometimes it feels like they sleepwalk their way through shit. But sometimes they care, and they've shown that with Boneyards and all these other and Funhouse matches and shit. So maybe SummerSlam has potential, or at least we can make the best of it that we can. It's just a shame that Boston isn't getting it. Boston's a fun wrestling town. TakeOver would have been great there as well. It would have been wicked great up in Boston. Oh, yeah. Ray and Black. That's right. Corbin tossed them. I was hoping it was Corbin that ate shit. Ha, Hell in the Cell at Alcatraz. Sure. Who did the Alcatraz thing? WCW did, right? Piper. You guys remember that? Did you ever hear that? It's back when he was, I think he was going to have his Hogan match, and I guess he spent like a month in Alcatraz, and they were filming him. He's all dirty and shit and hallucinating and cutting crazy promos. Go check out that stuff. Classic Piper from well beyond his prime years, but he was still doing good stuff and crazy shit in WCW. Pretty wacky. Not Dungeon of Doom wacky, but close. Yeah, I feel like when and if, like, that's the thing, we might ease into it, though. I would almost like it to be like, I know you can't just turn the switch on and off and say, oh, okay, tomorrow you can have 20,000 people in an arena. It's probably going to be a gradual thing. But if there were, where you can have like 100 at first and then 200, and then maybe WWE can go back to Full Sail and put 400 people there and gradually build up to an actual audience. But, if they were just able to say, hey, okay, you can sell tickets now, and you have your first show in front of like 10,000 people or something like that, I think it's going to have a very like post 9/11 SmackDown vibe to it, when Vince is in the ring and all the fans are there and the stars are in the aisleway type of thing. Like, all right, we're back, let's move forward. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody's happy to be there and full of energy and excitement. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be like a really slow process to actually get to that point where WWE can book arenas and sports can get back into, into full swing and stuff. And I think we're going to have to do some audience-less stuff first, or a very reduced audience, or, do like what Japan did, because they had everybody at the Japan show wearing masks, and they weren't even doing a whole lot of cheering because that helps spread the virus. So unfortunately, it's just going to be weird how it all plays out. I don't know. Oh, Super Brawl 97. Is that what it was? Was it the Hogan match? I barely forget how all that went. He debuted in 96, debuted in Halloween Havoc, fought Hogan at Starrcade, beat him, but it was like non-title, right? And then he faced him at Super Brawl, and then they would do the big cage match later on that following October, right? A year after he debuted. The greatest cage match in history. 2 weeks after Hell in the Cell. Those were the days. Oh, NASCAR held a race. Well, I mean, they're outside. And plus, in NASCAR country, that's COVID is a hoax country, so those morons don't give a shit. But at least it's outside and it's safer, and those stadiums are huge. You can put those. I mean, you have 150,000 people go to those car races and shit, so you can definitely social distance there, even though nobody will. Toss me a natural light and a pack of Marlboros. You would think that baseball, too, like baseball, NASCAR, anything that's kind of like primarily outdoors, should be the first to bring stuff back. But as we've seen with baseball, it's once a team gets hit with it, it's going to screw everything up. Then you got to postpone games that you really don't even have time to make up because you're trying to cram in a season here. Same thing with basketball. If you're an NBA team that wins the title this year, is it really a championship? If for anything else, I'm sad for the Lakers because I really wanted them to win for Kobe. I was hoping they'd have a full season, and, they were on a roll. They had the best record in the league, I think, and they were doing pretty good. They're still going to have a lot of competition and some hills to overcome. But, with all the LeBron hate and all that shit aside, I think putting that aside and kind of rooting for the Lakers and have them win and honor Kobe Bryant, I think would have been a really nice moment. But now it's like, even if they do win, it's like, shit, yeah, you won the title, but it was like a 30-game season. Doesn't even really count. There's always going to be an asterisk there. So if I'm an NBA player, I mean, and football is fucked, I can't imagine how they're going to get a season off with it, training camp and all that already supposed to be going down. I don't know how they have a season, man. We'll see. UFC is doing some stuff. Baseball's back up. Basketball starts. So we'll see what the NFL can do. But it's not going to be a normal-looking season, that's for sure. Probably filled with a lot of empty arenas and a lot of delayed games and postponed games and all sorts of shit. Survivor Series in a graveyard? That would be weird. I don't know. If I have a loved one buried in a cemetery, I don't know if I'd want WWE holding a show there. I'm like, don't break my grandma's tombstone, man. Come on. Leave it alone. Miss Morgan would never hurt nobody. Oh, thanks. So the Super Bowl match was for the title. And Hogan, I think, won that because I don't think Piper won the title over there. Okay, yeah, I haven't really been keeping up with NFL's rules, so you guys can help me. They will allow fans with masks. Okay. No preseason game. Having no preseason games does hurt them. Some people don't like the preseason games. I think they should. I think they have too many. I think they should like cut it from like 4 to 2. Wasn't it like 4 before? Yeah, maybe having a couple of scrimmages, that definitely doesn't help. We'll see. Either way, sports is weird. You know what I mean? All right, what else should we talk about? Because I've already ran through my Raw notes. There's not a whole lot of news going on today. We got a really low audience in here because Raw is terrible. You guys can hit me with some thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. If you're watching me or not subscribed, since there's only 120-ish people in here, I know all of you are subscribed, but if you're not, smash the subscribe. You'll like it here. Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't mention earlier about the, that's what I want to talk about the Sasha and Asuka match and Bayley beating down Kairi Sane. This was it for her. She did confirm that. Now, earlier on in the day, we heard last week that she was wrapping up. Her contract was up in July. She filmed these last 2 weeks, so we knew she was going to be on the show tonight. I thought she would be in the corner of Asuka, and instead they did the deal where she was attacked backstage, and that was her write-off. I thought she might stick around and have a match with Asuka or something, and we might get that before she leaves, but they've sent her on her way. She beat Bayley last week. Bayley gets her revenge this week, beats her up, seemingly injuring her, and I'm sure maybe next week they'll say that she's left the company or maybe she's upset or I don't know what the storyline reason is going to be, but she's gone. Earlier on the day, she tweeted just a little emoji of an hourglass, so she was kind of letting us know, this is it, guys. And then right after the match, I had a tweet prepared, ready to wish her the best, but I wanted to make sure she was actually leaving this time because we thought that she was leaving like 3 other times, so I didn't want to tweet her best of luck, and then she shows up on Raw next week, but I had that tweet in my drafts, and then she sent out a tweet that I have right here, and she says, I was able to accomplish so much in the last 3 years, but it wasn't because of my ability or my strength. It was because of all of the constant warm support from the fans. I am so thankful I could meet you all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Kairi Sane. We love you, Kairi. So we wish her the best, whatever she does. Obviously, she's going back to Japan, and she's going to go live her life, and she was just an absolute joy to have here. You know, she really was. Her matches were on fire. I had the privilege of seeing her live at TakeOver a couple of years ago. She is just a fantastic talent, and I think WWE appreciated her. You know, it's so nice to see them not be petty pieces of shit for once, and, you know, Bayley and WWE doing the honors for her as she leaves. You don't see too many people winning matches on their way out the door. And for Bayley to be the angry, jaded heel that got beat by her and then taking the cheap way out by attacking her and putting her out of the WWE is a perfect thing for heel Bayley and Sasha to do. And I thought it was a pretty good write-off. I don't think she was done wrong at all. I think she was done very, very right, at least at the end. I think Kairi was misused a bit. I mean, she was NXT champion, but there is no reason why she should not have won a Raw or SmackDown title. When you're putting that belt on Alexa Bliss and shit, you know, Kairi not only should have been champion, should have been multiple-time champion. And she wasn't. The only thing she really did was be one half of the Kabukis and taste some tag team gold with Asuka. So I wish her run would have gone better, but at least at the end, she was appreciative. She was happy with her time in WWE, and the fans have always had her back. Always. You know, we've always spoken really high of Kairi here on the podcast. You guys, I know, all adore her, and we wish her the best. She's great. And whatever she does, all the best in her future endeavors. So we'll see. Sad to see her go. Sad to see her go. But hey, as long as she's happy, we can never be mad, you know? I remember when I quit one of my jobs, it was like the second job I ever had. It was when I decided to move to the beach, and that was a pretty big deal in the restaurant. Like, I was his right-hand man, and it was a small little Italian place, and you know, I made the schedule. I was a manager. I closed the place down. I did the books. I did all sorts of stuff. And when I decided to move down to the beach and leave, I was like dreading the conversation with my boss to tell him I'm leaving and to like give my notice. I wasn't even going to give him a 2 week. I was going to give him like a month to let him know I was leaving. I remember the day before I was going to go meet and talk to him, I was like nervous and kind of sweating. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be so disappointed. And I remember when I sat down with him, I'm like, man, I got something to tell you. I got to give my notice. I want to move to the beach and move on with my life and go do something else. I got some friends down there and I need a change and all this kind of stuff. And sitting there like cringing, like, oh my God, is he going to super kick me off my chair? And he's like, dude, I would never try to stop you from doing that. He shook my hand. He goes, congratulations. He goes, thank you for everything you've done for me. And he goes, "Are you sure you need a month? Like, if you want 2 weeks, it's fine." I'm like, "No, I'm staying for a month or whatever. I'm going to be here." I was like, "I just didn't want to like leave you hanging or anything like that." He goes, "I would never be upset with you for living your life and moving on and doing something that makes you happy." And that made me realize, I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's like, you're allowed to do whatever you want. So I think as long as the person's going to do something that they're happy with and, and to move forward in their life, you should never criticize them, never be angry with them. And I saw that in WWE with Kairi Sane. It looks like they're wishing her well. I think they'd like to keep her in that ambassador role, would like to stop her from showing up anywhere else. But I don't think her deal is to go to AEW. If anything, she'll pop up in Stardom or some other Japanese promotion. And we heard the stories of her maybe wrestling a year and then retiring. She might want to have kids or something. I don't know. But whatever she's doing it because she wants to. And that's the most important thing. We love you, Kyrie. Oh, yeah, I did. So baseball's back. They've got cardboard cutouts. I had the Padres game here on it at work yesterday or the day before, and I saw that. I think in Japan, they're putting stuffed animals in the sea, which is pretty funny for the baseball games. That's a trip. But yeah, having cardboard cutouts is interesting. It's like WWE's doing the same thing. They're trying to create an atmosphere with no fans, and baseball doing the same thing. I'm curious what basketball will do. They'll put people in the seats. I don't know, but as big as baseball stadiums are, sometimes even when there's not a pandemic, these stadiums don't even fill enough people. If you're a shitty team and, you're 287 games out of last place to make the playoffs and you've got a day game on a Wednesday, who's going to that arena or who's going to the field to watch the game? Nobody. You're going to have 15 people there. So you can social distance anyway if your team sucks. I think it's the bigger teams that do a better amount of ticket sales that, you just have to monitor, but just have everybody 6 seats away. That's all you got to do. Hell, 5, maybe 6. And I still think you can have people there, but it's not going to give you much it's still going to affect the noise dramatically. You're not going to have much. So, yeah, the cardboard cutouts are funny. I like it. Tito has found a flying mosquito. Or a bug. He's leaping in the air. Either that or he's crazy. What's going on, buddy? Boy, when they lock their eyes onto a bug or something, I would hate to be that bug. Tito will hunt him. He will die hunting for him. He will not stop until he catches him, bites his wings off and tortures him, and then goes and shows his brother, and then they share the carcass together. That's what happens every time he catches a bug. He goes and shows the other cat, and he's like, "Hey, look what I found." And then together, they torture him. They torture him. I feel bad for the mosquito. Yeah, sometimes when you leave, it's tough, especially if you're leaving good people behind, which I was. But I was spinning my wheels in my little shit town in North Carolina. I need to get out of there and spread my wings. I need to go to the beach, smell the fresh air, and just live a better life. So I did. I was like, I'm going to go work at a different restaurant. I'm going to go find a new place. And I went there, found a job immediately, and stayed there 10 years. So, and it was better for me. Oh, that's awesome, Michael. You were there to see her win the title at TakeOver Brooklyn. Yeah, she was a great NXT champion. And correct me if I'm wrong, she won the Mae Young, right? And she beat Baszler in the finals, right? And then Baszler, he beat her for the NXT title. Is that how it went? So, based on the women's tournament, I thought she was going to be huge. I thought she was going to be the next Asuka. I thought she would be in the same tier as an Asuka, Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte. I thought you could put Kyrie's name into that, and it never really got to that point with her, on the main roster anyway, but that's what happens with everybody that gets called up. It's the name of the game. San Diego's treating me just fine with COVID going on. I'm working and we're busy, so I am constantly at risk, but I'm washing my hands, I'm wearing my mask. I'm trying to stay as far away from people as possible, and I'm outdoors all the time when I'm working. But I'm still at risk, and I still worry that just being around so many people and me having really no choice because I have to work, could hurt me, but I feel great. I've never felt sick. I've never had the sniffles or a cough or anything like that. Shout out to Jeff Meacham of No DQ. I think he got a positive test, so wish him the best. And I haven't seen too many people in the community as far as like YouTubers or podcasters or anybody like that has said they've had it or have gotten it. So it seems like most of us have been safe from this, but I'm at constant risk, being around people. But, customers are wearing masks. I'm wearing a mask. and just try and do my best. Luckily, I'm in open air, so it's not like a bunch of recycled air that we're all breathing in and stuff. So I guess, but I'm still going to the grocery store a lot, and still around people. But I got my sanitizer in my car. I got a bunch of masks and just doing what I can. But I'm not far from LA, which has a shitload of COVID cases. California has a lot. I think we're doing a lot of things right in terms of not opening and the distancing and stuff. This is the one time, or this is one really good example of why I live here, or why I'm happy that I live here, because I don't think I could handle it if I just had to live in one of these southern states right now that are so defiant on everything, and they're so against just common sense and science and stuff. I wouldn't want to be around all that. Yes, you have the I hate mask people around here too, but not to that degree. I think I would go out of my mind every time having to go to a store, having seen some fucker out there, arrogantly and blatantly defying the mask, because he reads dumb shit on the internet. I wouldn't be able to handle that. So the fact that I'm here, I'm actually really happy about, because yes, you have the assholes. We're just not overrun with them. And everybody that I've seen when I've gone to the store, people in my restaurant, I've only had, since we've been open, I've had 2 people be pissy about the masks. And we don't take like any shit. So when customers think they can, let me speak to the manager, I'm like, fine, fuck you, get out of my restaurant. Like, we do not put up with it at all. So that's a pretty low percentage. The fact that only twice in the last few months have somebody given us an attitude, where everybody else is cool. They come in, they wear their mask, they're appreciative that we're open, they're pretty kind for the most part. And same thing when I go to the grocery store. Everybody's got a mask on, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, and nobody's being blatantly defiant or going out there and trying to make some stupid political statement by not wearing a mask. They're just doing what they're supposed to do because they're not stupid. And that's good. So in terms of that, San Diego's treating me very well, but just the sheer population here and how many people live in this area in Southern California, I feel like I'm at an extreme risk of getting this. This might be a good time to live in a real small town, somewhere in bumfuck Iowa or Idaho or something. Might be a good time to get a cabin in the woods, you know what I mean? And just seclude yourself and try to stay safe until we snuff this damn thing out. How much do cabins in the woods in Idaho cost? Can y'all send me some links? Zillow me some links. Maybe I'll pick one up. Yeah, I think that was kind of the rumor earlier, is that WWE would do right by Tampa, and they should. I mean, I'd hate to be a city that thinks they're getting WrestleMania, it's canceled, and then you never get one again. So if WWE wants to go back there, maybe they want to go back there this year. Maybe Florida lets people do shit before California does, and they can have fans in the stadium, and Tampa gets it next year. And then maybe they bump 22 for LA. I'd be fine with that. But if they do come here to LA, or if WrestleMania is at the PC, regardless, hopefully 38 will be in Tampa. And then if LA gets canceled too, maybe 39 will be in LA 3 years from now. Sucks we even have to talk about that. At my job, only the milkman doesn't wear a mask. What a dumbass. Oh, what's up, Devlin? You're here. You made it through the hurricane. Makes me happy. Happy to hear that, dude. Very happy to hear that. Small towns suck. Small towns suck, but can be things to be said for a small town. Like when I get older, I got no real reason to live like in a big bustling city. I might want to retire to a quieter part of the country. Wouldn't be surprised if I do when I'm 60 or whatever. And there's certain aspects of small towns that I do miss, like since being in here in California, because it's so overwhelming and you have just an endless stream of things to do. LA is right up the road. Phoenix is right down the road. San Diego is the best damn city in the country. There's never ending shit to do all the time. And sometimes thinking back to my North Carolina days where things were a little quieter and a little simpler, I miss it. I miss it a lot. I miss the vibe and stuff, So it depends on, what your flavor is. I could never live in New York City, like some big concrete jungle. That would be a little much for me. But I think San Diego's in between because it's so spread out and stuff. So yeah, you don't want to live in a small town because you don't want to live an existence of constant boredom, which a lot of small towns, if you got nothing there except a Dairy Queen and a railroad track, what the hell do you do every day? So, in terms of that, you can find yourself in a rut. I think some small towns have high numbers of, depression and things like that. But if you want a simple, peaceful, relaxing life and you don't want to be bothered, small towns can be beneficial, and they are dirt cheap. man, you can get a lot of bang for your buck in a small town. The rent that I pay here would be a mortgage on a 6-bedroom house in Alabama, you know? And that's the difference. It's a trade-off there. So there's things to be said. I would never shit on small towns because I can see the value in those. Damn, Devil, and I'm so happy to hear about that hurricane. Brushed right by you, man. Good. Direct hit would have sucked. That would have sucked. I've taken a few of those in my life, and they are quite scary. There are scary stuff in the woods. Can't be in the middle of the woods or living in small towns at night. Yeah, I think you could live in a small town as long as there's something there and some lights and shit. But yeah, I don't want to be living in the middle of the woods. And I definitely don't want to be living in woods that are surrounding small towns because that's even scarier. That's hilarious. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up, even though we kind of have our biggest audience of the night, which is still pretty bad. But I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. Smash me the thumbs up. Any other last-minute things we need to discuss before you see me again? Don't forget, Thursday, WCW Wrestle War 1992 review will drop. And on Saturday, I'll be up here at normal time for the Winged Eagle. That's on the menu for this week. And then I've got my next Patreon videos for August already on the books, plus one of my own. Coming up in the month of August, I've got SummerSlam 2020 year anniversary review. I was at that show live, and I have a lot of memories of it, so we're going to talk about that. I have a SmackDown review, another show in the very same building that SummerSlam was at, except I wasn't there. This was from September 18th, 2003. SmackDown. It was the SmackDown with the Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle Iron Man match. Now, my buddy Daniel, who I'm hoping may be here in the stream just quietly hanging out listening, he was there. I was not, and I don't remember why I didn't go. I'm pissed that I didn't go, but he was there, and I'm hoping that he'll have some insight for me, and I can maybe share some of his stories. So I'm going to try to talk to him prior to releasing that review. And also in August, I've got a live stream on Rowdy Piper promos, specifically Piper's Pits. So we're going to review a lot of the Piper's Pits, a lot of the best memories, a lot of the best segments that he had, and just talk about Piper and reminisce about Piper in general. All of those are coming up in the month of August, so it'll be a fun month. Plus, we have SummerSlam, and that'll be a really fun weekend. Depending on how SummerSlam shapes up and what the card looks like, maybe I'll react to it, but I doubt it. I think I want to stick to a review. I reacted to Extreme Rules. I wasn't too happy with the numbers. I think I'll prefer to do a review there, but we'll see. If there's some really crazy matches planned and there's so much unpredictability on the card, then maybe I will, but don't count on it. I'm planning on a review, at least for now. But yeah, so we're going to close out the summer strong. We got a lot of stuff going on the channel, despite everything really slowing down. Man, we had a great beginning of the year, and then like it happens every so often, which is why I think this is going to turn around. A switch gets shut off, subscribers stop, views dwindle, everything is just down. And this happened. We go through these peaks and valleys all the time, and it usually lasts a couple of months, and then it picks right back up again. So hopefully we'll be back on our upswing by the time SummerSlam gets here. But I ain't giving up. You'll see me all the time. I'm here. We're going to do it. And that's that. Oh man, yeah, I gotta talk about this too. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Deshaun Robinson, thank you, dude, for the $2. Cole versus McAfee, Takeover 30 unsanctioned match. That, you're laughing, but I think that might actually happen. Because we talked about the Adam Cole on the Pat McAfee show yesterday on the Winged Eagle podcast, and, you know, it was clearly a work. I mean, there's no doubt about it, just the way the whole thing was set up and the verbiage and the way it was. I mean, with Cole dropping the F-bombs, they did a good job of trying to trick you because they don't usually drop F-bombs, but still just the level of awkwardness and stuff, it was pretty obvious that it was a work, at least to me, and most people didn't question it. Everybody on Twitter today was, oh, it's a work, it's a work. Well, like, well, no shit, I watched it. I got two eyes too, you know? So I think it's the fact that it's a work isn't really that surprising, but the fact that a match might develop out of it is interesting. And I think Triple H, I saw today, Triple H was on the Pat McAfee show. I didn't see it. I just read this. And I think he offered McAfee an opportunity to come to NXT and bury the hatchet with Adam Cole. So clearly if that happens, that's going to lead to your match. And it might be a TakeOver 30. Or it might just be on TV. I don't know. Yeah, you were a freaking punter. I was kind of giving it back to him. I mean, it was pretty funny the way they were kind of shitting on each other. But McAfee was it was so clearly a work the way McAfee was just pushing his buttons like that. I'm like, why would this guy do that? You know, why would he be a bully? I actually had sympathy for the guy. I talked about this yesterday. I had sympathy for him when we heard that story of Michael Cole chewing him out at WrestleMania because of his outfit or something, you know? So is he going to turn around and be a bully just like Cole was to him, you know? And he was about to quit that night. He had to contemplate whipping Michael Cole's ass. I said yesterday I definitely would have. That just infuriates me when I hear things like that. And he had to really kind of swallow his tongue without, you know, going over there and delivering a whooping to Michael Cole. So for him to be that same way and just be that antagonizing dickhead, you know, to me it seems like he's going against the same thing that happened to him. So I just didn't really buy it at all. It was pretty obvious, but it's interesting. I mean, that's going to be, when I'm thinking about what Cole is going to do next, life for him after the NXT title, the last thing in the world that I thought he would be doing is fucking around with Pat McAfee. I kind of think McAfee's okay. It's just he's obnoxious and loud and his voice is annoying, but they like him, so we'll see. And I don't know, like McAfee, how much wrestling training does he really have? I mean, Cole is spectacular. You know, Cole is a 5-star caliber wrestler, and McAfee is a goddamn punter. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. Don't know what we're going to see. New football stable. Wouldn't be surprised. Lawrence Taylor had a stable. Mongo McMichael was in that stable. Reggie White, Norton, Spielman. I forgot who else was in that in 95. Came out to the Monday Night Football theme. That was great stuff. WrestleMania 11. Best WrestleMania of all time. Watch it. Fabulous matches, man. So good. Allied Powers versus Jacob and Eli Blue. Move over, Shawn and Taker. That's the best match of all time. Check it out. All right. Yeah, the Cole and McAfee match definitely will happen. I don't know if it'll be a TakeOver 30 thing. I guess it will, but part of me thinks it could also be on TV. We'll see. It's probably gonna be TakeOver because that'll allow Pat enough time to talk his shit and get the angle over on his podcast and all of that, so they can really do a lot of trash talking prior to the match. It's just odd. It's just kind of like out of nowhere. I'm like, Cole and McAfee. Wouldn't have thought that. You know, this guy should still be he should be in one of these triple threats for the North American title, you would think. But instead, Pat McAfee? All right. Unless that could be good. Maybe Cole gets put into one of those triple threats and McAfee like interferes and costs him the match. That would be cool. Why not? Kevin Green could come in. What's he up to these days? How old is Kevin? He had a lot of charisma, man. He had that long blonde hair. He almost looked a little bit like Hulk Hogan when he played for Packers, Panthers. Who else was he with? He had that. He was one of their bigger characters, kind of like a Clay Matthews or I don't know who else. Who else is a really animated defensive player? Guys like that are tailor-made for wrestling. I actually thought that Clay Matthews would be in wrestling at some point. I don't know if he cares though. Ooh, Undertaker Bundy, classic match, man. Thanks, DM23 for the $5. Cheers, Greg. And curious, what's your favorite non-Big Four pay-per-view? Also, smash that like button, people. Okay, I will do it. DM there. I smashed it. All right, I've liked my own video. I'm such a loser. My favorite non-big pay-per-view. So you mean favorite individual show or favorite like show? Like I like SummerSlam, like all SummerSlams, or one non-big four pay-per-view, because I got a bunch. ECW One Night Stand, Canadian Stampede. Oh, God, there's so many. Hell in the Cell, or Bad Blood was fucking awesome. I'm sure there's other ones in like the mid-2000s and stuff that were great, like the Judgment Days. I was at a Judgment Day in 2003. I need to review that, actually, one of these days, because I was there. Non-Big Four. If it's a recurring one, I might say like No Mercy or something. But if it's individual pay-per-view, I got to go Canadian Stampede and One Night Stand, the first one. Yeah, the first one. Even though that Cena and RVD match was great, the first one was so much better and so much more just nostalgic and everything. So those are my two favorites, I think. Where's WrestleMania 40 located? Hopefully in an arena with fans. God, WrestleMania 40, that is not far off, man. We are 3.5 years away from that. It's going to be interesting. President Biden will be up for re-election. It's going to be crazy. I'm kidding. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to get out of here now. But thank you guys for hanging out. And now the audience beefs up, just like they always do. But I think we talked about what we needed to talk about tonight here on Raw. And I wish you guys the best and have a great night. And if you have other comments or anything to include or elaborate on, please hit me with them in the comments below on this video. And yeah, I will talk to you guys on Thursday for the Wrestle War review. And then we'll be back up here Saturday for the Winged Eagle. Y'all be good. Have a great night. Catch you later. Peace.